So for this part, we already have the structure for the requests. The table is basically complete now. And if I wanted to create a new request, all I would have to do is click here on new row, and I would be able to add the information. But I don't want everyone to use the table itself, right? It's bad practice actually to keep using the table directly. Usually you want an app to interact with the table. So what we're going to do now is create a form so people can submit requests through. And to do that, we're going to use Jestor's superforms. And superforms are great components that you can use to do a lot of stuff inside Jestor. So you can submit requests, you can edit information, you can have superforms that only check on information, and you are only able to read the information but not change it. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to see later on that you can basically use superforms as custom interfaces in various parts of Jestor. But for now, we're just going to create a simple form to create the request. And we're going to do this by creating, we could click here on new superform, but we can also create a new app page. So just to show you guys, I'm going to create a new blank app page. And this is the blank app, there's nothing here. If I had clicked on create a new superform, it would create the same thing, but there would already be a superform component here. So I'm going to call this request superform, and I'm going to give it an icon and a color. So for icon, I'm going to use writing. There you go. So now I'm going to use one of these components, and in this case, I'm going to create a superform. And you guys can see that I could create charts, I could create indicators, I could create maps. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. But for now, all I'm going to do is create a simple form. So this form is going to be called submit new request. I could add a description here. So use this to request a reimbursement. And I could have a logo and a cover, but I don't want that. So I'm going to take them out. And now, remember what I said before is that apps always interact with a table. So if I'm creating a form, this form is submitting information into a table, right? So which table is that? And the answer is the requests table. So I'm going to search for it. Here it is. And then I can select which fields I'm going to use in this form. You don't have to use all of them. You could just have a couple of them, and the other fields are for all the parts of the process, right? So people should be able to submit a title, a description, an amount, attachments, and a category. Okay, so there are some things that we can do here, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to also add stage to the superform, and you guys can see in the preview mode how it's looking so far. But I can edit the fields as well. So for example, I can change how stage appears here. For example, it could be button-like, and it changes the appearance. I can make them require, I can make them optional, and so on. So you can do a lot of things here. But we can also add blocks to change the behavior. So for example, I can create inline blocks, and I can, for example, say that amount and category are close together. I can just drag and drop, and then I sandwich them between the inlines, and now they're right next to each other. I could add, for example, a section. So request information, fill out all fields. There you go. So I sandwich the fields between the sections, and there you go. So looking good so far. And for example, I could do one more thing. I could add pagination. So new page, for example, and it breaks before stage. So now I fill out this information, click on next. Oop, let me save. save, and I can click on next, and it's another page, right? But I don't need that for this form specifically, so I'm going to remove it. There you go. I can also add colors. I'm going to leave this white. It's a white form. And also there's a couple of things here. I can have form conditionals. So for example, I may hide a field. I can, for example, hide the description if the title is not empty. So when I do that, as soon as I enter a title, the description disappears. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do here, actually. I'm going to remove that conditional. You can customize the success page and so on. There you go. And also one thing that I can leave on is enable response copies. So if someone submits a form, they get an email with the information that they submitted. So that's also one thing that you can do here. I'm going to leave this off. And one final thing that I want to do with this form is that you can see that I have the stage field here, but it doesn't make sense to be here, right? Because I don't want people to send things to approved. But actually, if I don't send information, it's not going to go into any stage at all. So one thing that I can do is click here on stage, and I'm going to hide this field so people won't be able to see this field or change this field, but I'm also going to leave it with a predefined value of new. There you go. So here you go. So now I can submit this new reimbursement. Here's the gas receipt for client visit, and then I can just send like the information. I'm going to submit it, and if I go back to requests, it's already here. So I have all the information that I've sent. It's on stage new with the category. So for the next part, this was a bit of a longer one, but for the next part, we're going to just create a public form.